This is not over. Saren is unstoppable. My mind is filled with his light. Everything is clear.
That doesn't sound normal. So, the Rachni don't really seem to be going along with this. They just seem to be going completely crazy here, not really abiding by anyone's intentions. Now, Matriarch Benezia had said at the beginning something along the lines of how they were planning to have a bunch of Rachni children fight on Saren's behalf. So, yeah. Let's see what she has to say about this.
The Rachni didn't cooperate with you. Why should I?
Hey.
I will not betray him. You will. You must listen. Saren still whispers in my mind. I can fight his compulsions briefly, but the indoctrination is strong.
Whoa. So, okay. Sounds like we have broken through to the real Benezia for a minute here.
Why are you able to break free of his control now?
I sealed a part of my mind away from the indoctrination, saving it for a moment when I could help destroy him. It will not last long.
Was this what the prompt was before when we went this route? This may be the same thing, but let's just make sure we check it out in case.
Why are you able to break free of his control now?
I sealed part
okay,
of my
so we
mind
heard
away
this.
From the indoctrination.
So she says she
Saving
basically
it for a moment when I could
knew
help destroy him.
that they were
Not
going to do
last
something
long.
to mess with her mind. And so she prepared herself and locked away this little corner of her brain that they were not able to indoctrinate, so that for a time like this, she could still give the information she needed to give to someone who is capable of helping to take Saren out. So, do we take her at face value, believe her, when she's, from all we know, been pretty darn involved in helping Saren? I mean, she's seemingly the one behind all these operations here. And there's clearly some Geth involvements and Rachni now as well. Because, does seem as though you're perhaps still quite dangerous. You say it's only going to last momentarily, so just a matter of moments you could be back to being an enemy once more.
So you could turn on me again.
Yes, but it would not be my will, Shepard. People are not themselves around Saren. You come to idolize him, worship him. You would do anything for him. The key is Sovereign, his flagship. It is a dreadnought of incredible size, and its power is extraordinary.
Okay. Sovereign, his ship. Where did he get the ship?
Sovereign's not.
What makes it so special?
Where did it come from?
I cannot say. The Geth did not build it. Its technology is far more advanced than that of any known species. The longer you stay aboard, the more Saren's will seems correct. You sit at his feet and smile as his words pour into you. It is subtle at first. I thought I was strong enough to resist. Instead, I became a willing tool, eager to serve. He sent me here to find the location of the Mu relay. Its position was lost thousands of years ago.
A mass relay? How do you lose a gigantic mass relay that you use for interstellar travel? Presumably those things would be pretty notable and noticeable.
How does something that big go missing?
4,000 years ago, a star nearby went supernova. The shockwave propelled the relay out of its system, but did not damage it. Its precise vector and speed are impossible to determine. As millennia passed, the nebula created by the nova enveloped the relay. It is difficult to find any cold object in interstellar space, particularly something swathed in hot dust and radiation.
Okay, so apparently you're here for that purpose? I mean, there's this whole question about you seemingly trying to raise an army of Rachni? That seemed to be the initial purpose for your, or at least from what we understood, your initial reason for having gone here. Although now you're saying, in fact, the most important thing was you were trying to track down this relay. Don't really know why that would be of particular importance to Saren, though.
Someone on Noveria found it?
And why does that bring you here?
2,000 years ago, the Rachni inhabited that region of our galaxy. They discovered the relay. The Rachni can share memories across generations. Queens inherit the knowledge of their mothers. I took the location of the relay from the Queen's mind. I was not gentle.
Oh! Oh. Well, that's lovely. So you, basically tortured some Rachni to get some historical information passed down from generation to generation that you could only possibly get from them? Yeah, that's definitely not cool. How did the Rachni find this relay, then?
How did the Rachni find it?
They searched patiently. They are territorial creatures, driven to close any possible way into their systems.
Okay, I suppose that makes enough sense. But why is this of particular importance to Saren? I mean, I understand why, obviously, making an army would be helpful. That seems to be what he's done with the Geth, or at least tried to do with the Geth. But Rachni as well would make more sense to just continue to become stronger. But why? How does the relay tie into all this?
Why does Saren need the new relay?
He believes it will lead him to the conduit. I would tell you more if I could, but Saren did not share his counsel with me. I was merely a servant to his cause.
I mean, that is definitely helpful information to have. We know why you and by extension Saren were involved with the Rachni, and now know about this new relay that is on our radar. But, and it does seem, at least at the moment, as though Matriarch Venezia is quite cooperative. She's telling us this juicy information. As she was saying before, this is something that she thinks she can only withstand for so long before this indoctrination will take a hold of her once more. It does seem as though she's regretful of having partnered up with Saren. She said how she thought she would be able to resist his influence, but over time found that no, she could not do that, and so she was bending to his will. And I mean, this is no slouch either. This is like one of the most powerful people in the galaxy. An Asari matriarch, and in particular, I think Venezia was held in pretty high regard.
You can still make it right. Give me the information.
I was not myself, but I should have been stronger. I transcribed the data to an OSD. Take it, please.
Knowing the relay's coordinates is not enough. Do you know where he planned to go from there?
Saren wouldn't tell me his destination. But you must find out quickly. I transmitted the coordinates to him before you arrived.
So he already knows. He has a head start.
You have to stop me. I can't. His teeth are at my ear. Fingers on my spine. You should. Oh, you should.
Mother, don't leave. Fight him.
You've always made me proud, Liara.
Oh.
Die.
But the old Venezia is back. Okay. If we could just, like, you know, use some abilities here. So now we're actually fighting Venezia herself here. She has already knocked Rex down on the ground, and so you're wondering why I was trying to get the additional physics resistance on our armor, at least in the case of Rex's. Well, because I knew we were going to be fighting a lot of biotics, like those commandos and like Venezia herself. So, let's see. Let's stasis her. That should definitely help. And then if we warp her, that will increase the amount of damage we can do to her. And then if we use, where is it? Marksman, that will also increase the damage we do, and she is down.
I cannot go on. You will have to stop him, Shepard.
I mean, it seems as though, at least when you can will yourself to fight against him, well, I don't know. It seems as though you can, at times, withstand. Then again, you know, we did kind of just shoot you in the head numerous times. Numerous times. So, not exactly sure if you're long for this world after having done that.
Hold on. We've got energy. Maybe we can...
No. He is still in my mind. I am not entirely myself. I never will be again. Mother. Good night, little wing. I will see you again with the dawn. No light. They always said there would be a...
That's dark. Potential metaphors there abounds. It's because she felt the darkness. Well, so, Matriarch Venezia is down. Before we make a point of progressing much further, I think there may still be a couple of places for us to loot here. Well, there is Matriarch Venezia.
The sooner we are off this frozen world, the better.
And Liara, well, doesn't have too much else to say on that specific topic, but yes, we look around a little bit here. I think we will still find some additional loot, unless I may be just thinking about the stuff that we found on our way in here. Let's see, I thought we'd find a little bit, though. Let me just poke around a bit here. Let's see. Have any crates? Thought there were gonna be maybe a couple. Did I see some there? Is that just Rex and Liara? I think so. And you're asking yourself, well, Lids, what else is there to do here? Don't worry. There's definitely more to be done. We may have defeated the commandos and defeated Matriarch Venezia, but we are not done just yet. And in fact, you will find if you try to leave, you can't. For that reason. It may actually be that you need to do this thing next, and only then will things become lootable, because, well, one of the most significant decisions in this game we are about to find. Hey, what's up?
This one serves as our voice. We cannot sing. Not in these low spaces. Your musics are colorless.
So, what is happening? What is happening?
Musics? What?
Your way of communicating is strange. Flat. It does not color the air. When we speak, one moves all.
This is going to be a fun conversation.
Thanks, Rex.
We are the mother. We sing for those left behind. The children you thought silenced. We are Rachni.
So, this is the Rachni Queen. And, well, she basically appears to be perhaps talking through the Asari, who is in fact one of the commandos that we just defeated, and is kind of sort of being resurrected here.
How are you speaking through her?
Our kind sing through touchings of thought. We pluck the strings, and the other understands. She is weak to urging. She has colors we have no names for. But she is ending. Her music is bittersweet. It is beautiful. The children we birthed were stolen from us before they could learn to sing. They are lost to silence. And their suffering, they cannot be saved. They will only cause harm as they are.
So, what we are hearing here is, so this is the matriarch, or the, not the matriarch, not the matriarch. This is the Rachni queen, and so she is much like a queen bee, basically the mother of basically all of these Rachni that we've encountered here. And so what she is saying is that for some reason, all of the Rachni, or at least the vast majority of the Rachni that we have seen here on Noveria, are lost. There's no way we can possibly reason with them. They are basically just monsters at this stage. So what is wrong with them exactly?
I don't understand. Why are your children killing people?
These needlemen, they stole our eggs from us. They sought to turn our children into beasts of war, claws with no songs of their own. Our elders are comfortable with silence. Children know only fear if no one sings to them. Fear has shattered their minds.
I understand. A child left alone in a closet until she is 16 would not be sane.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that's a apt comparison, analogy. Yeah, basically, they use the Rachni Queen to hatch a bunch of Rachni, and they separated the Rachni Queen from the Rachni at such a young age that the Rachni babies had no idea what to do, couldn't make any sense of the world, and so they went completely crazy. And so now the Rachni Queen is saying there's no way you can possibly make them become sane. There's no rescuing them. They are, at this point, just completely mindless monsters, and so for that reason, end their suffering. So, we can kill them cheerfully, do as she asks, or, I mean, suppose, if you're certain that's the only way?
If you're sure they can't be saved.
It is lamentable, but necessary. Do what you must. Before you deal with our children, we stand before you. What will you sing? Will you release us? Are we to fade away once more?
There are acid tanks rigged up on that thing. Set them off. Millions of my ancestors died to put these things down. Don't let them come back.
They made a mistake. They let the Krogan go too far. This is a chance for us to atone. She has done nothing to us.
Your companions hear the truth. You have the power to free us, or return our people to the silence of memory.
Okay, so, whole lot of context here that, unfortunately, this is one of the things that I was really hoping we would get the codex entry for. That's what I was fishing around for when we first encountered the Rachni. I don't think we had the entry for them, at least not for a while. We might have had it. We might have gained it at some point along the way here, in which case I wish we had double-checked here, but at the very least, we'll certainly double-check after this encounter to see if we have them. But in the absence of that, I will give you the context. Basically, the Rachni were an ancient, or not so much ancient, but a species of insect-like hive-mind creatures that the council species encountered only when they went through a mass relay that they did not know where it led to. So they were going in blind, went there, found the Rachni, which were in fact an intelligent species of this hive-mind insect-like sort. And once they did that, after having activated that relay and basically opened up the world, opened up the galaxy to the Rachni then basically just swarmed and became capable of basically conquering a bunch of planets and became a big problem. And so, in order to deal with the Rachni, the council species, namely the Solarians, Asari, and I believe Turians as well, went to the Krogan, Rex's species, who at the time were basically stuck on their home world in a self-created nuclear winter where they had basically just like blown up their planet, and they were suffering there. You know, they had such terrible living conditions there that their whole population was struggling quite a bit. But the Krogan, at least in theory, in a vacuum, or at least in a more normal set of living conditions, were these big, sturdy species that were capable of being incredibly powerful warriors. So, what the Council Species did was they went to Tuchanka, the Krogan's homeworld. They basically brought them out of that world and introduced them to a whole bunch of breaking technology, and basically uplifted them into the modern era. And in doing so, that allowed them to use the Krogan as their new weapon to fight the Rachni and fend them off, because without the Krogan, they were completely overwhelmed by the Rachni. So that became the quote-unquote Rachni Wars, in which Krogan were the key weapon that sort of turned the tide in that war. And that's why Rex was talking about how his people put all this effort into fighting them. However, in order to ultimately defeat them, they had to basically send the Krogan into these harsh worlds where the Rachni were native to, and send the Krogan into these obscure tunnels and basically blow them up, because the Krogan were the only people who were capable of surviving in those conditions, since they were born and raised and lived originally in a planet that had such terrible conditions. So, after having done that, everyone thought that the Rachni were extinct. They thought that the Rachni were completely eliminated, because they went through this very prolonged, dangerous, and high-casualty war, and basically just did a whole bunch of things to prepare the Krogan. They basically just custom-fit the Krogan to be their army to go against the Rachni, all to wipe them out, and their intention was to wipe them off the face of the galaxy in their entirety, because they basically couldn't be reasoned with. And so they thought they did that. And so the fact that we encountered any Rachni at all on Noveria was already a humongous red flag, because here's the species that everyone thought no longer existed. Now, not only do we realize that there are, in fact, Rachni here on Noveria, there's also a Rachni queen capable of reproducing at a very high rate, and therefore potentially even bringing back the Rachni as an entire species. And as we learned from Venezia, Saren was, at least in part, planning on using the Rachni Queen to create a bunch of Rachni children to create a Rachni army. So, the Rachni Queen is saying, given how she was separated from her children went crazy and now can't be saved, and so she's saying, at least in the case of her children, do what you have to, get rid of them. They're just dangerous at this point. But now she's saying, as for me, what is my fate? Because I stand before you, and as Rex pointed out, there are basically acid tanks hooked up to the tank in which the Rachni Queen is currently contained, which we could use to kill her, and in doing so, wipe out the Rachni species for good. Do what we had thought had already been done, but only now do we realize that, okay, Rachni did in fact still exist, and it's up to us to decide what the fate of the entire species is to be. So we can, yes, get rid of them by killing the Rachni Queen, by setting off those acid charges, or we can say that we won't kill you and try to set her free, but then raises the question, alright, I mean, if we unleash a species that previously waged a prolonged and high-casualty war against basically all other races in the galaxy, that's not exactly something that we want to have happen again. So what are your plans if we were to release you?
If I let you live, would you attack other races again?
No, I do not know what happened in the war. We only heard discordance, songs the color of oily shadows. We would seek a hidden place to teach our children harmony. If they understand, perhaps we would return.
Okay, so at least she says she would try to choose peace and harmony. As for how much we can trust a species that, like I said, previously waged war on everyone else in the galaxy, that's, maybe a little bit hard to take her at face value for that reason. What about specifically your survival?
Are you a survivor from the war? A clone?
How did you get here?
We do not know. We were only an egg, hearing Mother cry in our dreams. A tone from space hushed one voice after another. It forced the singers to resonate with its own sour yellow note. Then we awoke in this place, the last echo of those who came out from the singing planet. The sky is silent.
So, a lot of sort of metaphors there, but what I take from that is that basically she's saying that she was separated from the rest of the Rachni when she was just an egg, and when she hatched, she was here. So that presumably means, despite her being the queen, may in fact actually be quite young, but the whole silence, lack of songs, and what have you, would seem to suggest that she's thinking that she is in fact the only remaining Rachni, or at the time probably was the only remaining Rachni at all, but then, of course, if she gave birth, then her and all of her children are the only remaining Rachni here on Noveria. So, for all those reasons, it basically comes down to, what do we think? Do we trust a species that previously killed thousands, if not probably, actually even thousands for sure, tens of thousands definitely, hundreds of thousands probably, millions possibly even? So, you have a lot of blood on your name, at least as a species, but how much do we trust you? It's basically what it comes down to. You say that you do not mean us any harm, so we could take your word for it and set you free and allow your species to live on peacefully. Or we could say, no, I don't think so. I don't believe you. I think that in truth, as soon as we let you go, you're just going to use all the Rachni that you're capable of creating to wage another war and try to take over the galaxy once again. But, like I said, this is in fact one of the most significant decisions you can make in Mass Effect 1. And, in my case,
I won't destroy your entire race. You'll go free.
Are you stupid? Your people didn't fight these bastards, so maybe you don't get it.
So, Rex disagrees. Again, makes sense after his species was the primary species that fought them. And just to connect more dots, so the Krogan were the primary species that were sent in to fight the Rachni, and then after the Krogan got taken off of their home world and after the Rachni Wars were over, suddenly Krogan, a species who were originally fit to live on a place that was very hard to live on, and that sort of naturally reduced their numbers. Once they were on, places like the Citadel, Earth, and other just generally more life-friendly type places, their population exploded, and that is what was ultimately the thing that caused the Solarians to create and Turians to deploy the genophage, which was that disease that they created to basically destroy the Krogan genotype and make it so that only 1 in, 1,000? 10,000 children actually are born and live. So now at this point, the Krogan went from what was at one point, or they started off as a species that was basically just beating itself up on its own planet in terrible conditions, fighting each other and going nowhere, to a species that got taken out into much better place, into a much more beneficial place for the species to thrive, and then their population exploded. They became very successful, but so much so that they became a threat to the other species, and so the genophage got developed, so now they are suddenly a dying species. So the Krogan species has been experiencing some serious ups and downs, and has been sort of the tool of many of the other species of the galaxy, and so they house some ill will towards the other species for that reason, and does not want to have their efforts to eradicate the Rachni to have been in vain. So that makes sense that Rex is disagreeing with us here. So we can cave in and agree with Rex, or we can say, well, I mean, she herself says she did not know anything about the war, and that she just knows that she got born here, and that's about it. So she herself does not really have any, I mean, assuming she didn't lie about that, she herself does not have anything that would make her guilty of that other than just being a member of that species. But then again, I mean, wiping out an entire species? That's big stuff. Yeah, she's a very young queen. She said that she was born basically here, hatched from her egg on Novaria. Presumably that was Saren or one of Saren's people who originally brought her here. So she has no personal recollection of the wars. Again, assuming that we take her word for it. I mean, technically we heard that she learns things through, or at least Benezi had said that Rachni can pass down memories from one generation to the next, so that technically there's a little bit of an inconsistency there. Presumably she would know at least something about the war based on those memories that she learned from her ancestors, but that's, you know, well, we won't focus on that. But anyways, at least in my case, I would say...
Are we any better if we kill them all?
Do what you want. My people will clean up this mess later, just like we did for the Solarians.
You will give us the chance to compose anew? We will remember. We will sing of your forgiveness to our children.
Great. Bugs are writing songs about you. Mark my words, you'll regret this.
So like I said, one of the most impactful decisions that you can make in Mass Effect 1, in terms of the ramifications that it has for the rest of the campaign, Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. So we took a big risk here, trusting a giant bug to not wage war on the entire galaxy. Will it work in our favor? Only time will tell. You did also see that we just got a huge chunk of Paragon points, and we also leveled up, I think that was after having fought Venezia. So we are, well, I mean, hard to say how much further we are on actually filling our meter. That is one of the biggest sources of, well, I mean, then again, we're looking earlier in this mission now. You can cheese some morality points in some ways. But, so I think we were saying that we might want to make a point of filling up our charm meter, because I think we've already gotten all of our free, quote-unquote, charm points. Although then again, hold on. Did we spend 1 point on charm earlier, or just 2? Or 1 point on charm, or none, I should say. Maybe we did spend 1, because I was thinking, I remember we spent 1 on Unity, get up to, or on Spectre Train to get up to Advanced Unity. Like, did we just get a free charm point? Because I didn't think we had any remaining. So I think we do take this one here. And then that means that at this point, I think what we go for is more or less with all of our points to spare. We're going to probably throw them into more points of stasis just to increase the duration of it, because it is, I would argue, probably our strongest ability by perhaps quite a bit at this point. And then also, if we feel like we can get all the way up to Master Unity, that'd be nice. But I'm not 100% sure if we're going to have enough points to make that happen. So, I think, why don't we instead focus on at least a few more points in stasis for now. Oh, in fact, did we only get 1 point? So, one thing to bear in mind is that as you get further along in the game, the more you level up, you will actually start to gain fewer points to, or fewer skill points per level. And so we may now be at the point where we're no longer getting 2 points per level and only 1. Either that or I totally blanked out and spent 1 point without even realizing it. But there was a long time which we were getting 2 points per level and our teammates were only getting 1 point per level, but we might both be on 1 point per level now. Let's see. So now for Liara, what were we just throwing some points into? Was it Master Overload that we got most recently? That was recent. Was that the thing we did last level, though? Or was there something else we were trying to work toward? We could get Advanced First Aid, but I'm not terribly keen on that when we have Unity on our end. And maybe even Warp could be a decent option, or further upgrading electronics, just mostly give you some additional shields to be a little bit tankier. Either of those potentially work. Warp more offensively, electronics more defensively. So, do we have a preference there? Why don't we go with the... Let's not get too greedy. Let's go electronics for some defenses. And Rex, we were trying to get you up to Master Carnage, so let's throw another point in here. We threw in, most recently, I remember for him, additional Krogan Battlemaster, just to give him a little more resistance to physics forces, because, again, yeah, I knew we were going to be fighting a bunch of commandos and Matriarch Benezia. So let's see. In our journal, it now says, Death of a Matriarch. Matriarch Benezia is dead. She gave you the location of the Mu Relay, but did not know where Saren planned to go after activating it. So there is one other thing we can do here, though, before we head out. That was, of course, the big thing. There is one more component, though. We still have the Hot Labs. Dealt with the Matriarch. There's still the issue of the Rachni down in the Hot Labs. So we'll definitely want to check that out before we leave here. And I believe we also got a little bit more stuff here. Ooh, that might be a decent chest plate for Rex. Take a quick look here. Yes, it is. In fact, it is just 2 levels higher version of the same gear that we have on right now, so definitely. And before we forget, well, we might want to throw back on the medical interface, although, then again, this is perhaps an upgrade that we'll want to pass around a little bit from character to character as we work other people into our party, because, well, Rex, more so than other people, can sort of go without it since he has so much built-in life regeneration. So maybe, at least for now, we'll stick with... no, I take it back. We're probably going to want the toxin resistance and life regeneration, come to think of it. Yeah, let's stick with that. Then I think... Start throwing on other weapons that he's probably not going to be using. Should be good there. Now... And that's Matriarch Benezia. I thought, though, as I was saying earlier, there were, in fact, still a few areas to loot in this actual room. But I may have been mixing that up with the room that we were in just before entering here. Let me just take a quick scan in case we are missing anything at the moment. Thought there was. But perhaps I am just making that up. See anything? Please zoom in. No? Besides Matriarch Benezia. There? No? No? Peculiar. Quite peculiar. Perhaps my memory serves me wrong. In that case, let's take a look here at our map, because remember that we came in, technically, through here, but we had the option of coming in through the elevator to the restricted area. So that's one way to get back down, although I think that actually... Let's try this right now. I think this is going to be locked. It is. Yeah, so this is one of the things that you want to, probably imagine. This is one of, if not the last thing that you want to do in Noveria. The only thing that you can save is the Hot Labs, which is the thing that we've not yet done. Otherwise, basically, the whole station is going to get locked down to you. Things like, like we were saying earlier, the sort of medic cure, or the cure for the disease that had spread. Could, let us through that. Thank you. So, now, we're back at the tramway area. we take a look at our map here, we can see, if we take this elevator here, we should still be able to go to the hot labs. It's basically just the central area where we had, say, the shopkeeper and the other workers at the station. That is the area that is currently locked down to us. So this is the only place that we can go other than just leaving. So let's save here. And head on up to the hot labs. And I think we were checking our journal for this just a minute ago, but as a reminder, hot labs is just a place where there are some Rachni there, and they've, I believe, just sort of generally gotten out of hand.